After, let's get started as some folks make their way in. Hope everybody's week is off to a decent start. Let's kick it off with backend. Who's repping backend?
That's me. Good afternoon, everyone. Last week on the backend team, we released the 1.98 RC. We expect this to be the last release of the year. We'll hopefully release the full release tomorrow. And that's good to get out. Otherwise, it's been pretty quiet. The RC includes things like some cleanups with the server notices rooms. Thank you to Mathieu. As well as, quite excitingly, the Synapse upgrade notes now automatically lists the compatibility version so that when you upgrade to a specific version, you know how far to downgrade you can downgrade to, which should hopefully be really useful to all server admins. That's pretty much it.
Thank you, Eric. Let's move on to account portability and Dendrite. Devin?
Yep, hey everyone. So last week was also pretty quiet around our team. I did a lot of digging through canonical JSON stuff in Dendrite, found a slew of problems, fixed a few, and there's a few that are outstanding with unknown ways to approach those as of this moment, and did some CryptoIDs work, and this week aiming to achieve baseline functionality of the proposed CryptoIDs changes in prototypes in Dendrite and Element X.
Excellent. Thank you, Devin. Moving on to spec update. Do we have somebody to give voice to this?
Yeah, hello. In spec land, we did have an accepted MSC. This was the old polls MSC. This is polls implemented on top of extensible events, which was kind of cool to see land. Obviously, extensible events itself is not quite landed in the spec yet, so you won't see this as a spec PR for a bit, but the shape of this has been agreed and accepted. Otherwise, other than just a whole bunch of people commenting on MSCs that I'm seeing in my inbox, Matrix 1.10 planning is now expected to come on soon as the spec core team gets through holidays and then all gets back together. Just keep an eye on the Office of the Spec Core Team room for updates there in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on to VoIP with Florian.
Yeah, hello. So the last week was quite under the hood, nothing very special user facing. So we're continuing our path towards the MVVM pattern. The initial refactoring of the business logic is already merged. Now we are working on the video tile redesign and refactor. And the reason behind it is basically laying the ground for proper testing and also to implement the latest and greatest UX designs from our designers. On the ringing and notification side of things, we are a big step towards our, let's say, intermediate goal. So in the REST SDK and in Element Web, we have everything which we want to have. Also in Element Web, everything is wired up. So also in DM chats now, you can have ringing, which is pretty cool. And on the mobile side, the X teams already added the new room permissions and call button permission stuff, such that the call button is grayed out if you don't have permissions to start a call. What is open here is, I think in terms of if we start a call for Element X, we will have ringing on the Element website, but the other way around will take some more time. I guess it will slip into next year, but we are on it. And that basically, if you have this, then already everything finished here, I would say we are in a good state to sunset Jitsi and make Element Core the default platform on Element X and Element Web.
Excellent, exciting. Thank you. Moving on to, looks like nothing from Rich Text Editors. Let's move on to Element Web and Desktop with Florian.
Yes, thank you. Two main topics about it. One is about our migration of our our end-to-end test from Cypress to Playwright. We are continuing the migration. We are seeing already improvements on stability. So big news. And also on the unread stack notification, we have landed at the previous week on a rewrite receipts. We are still fixing bugs on it. We are already fixed bugs. Also, thanks to the private migration, our end-to-end tests are more stable. And we are right, and we are fixed our end-to-end test about unread and certification. So we are improving our code base and our test coverage around this use case. And that's all.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Looks like we have an update from Element Android and Element X Android. Benoit?
Yes, it's me. Good morning, everyone. So about Element Android, the mobile device manager pull request has been merged. So it will be included in the next release. And regarding Element X, we are working to improve the existing features, and I think the pull history will be merged soon. Today I added the support to render images in notifications directly in the notification, as it was the case for Element Android. Also, we've got a request to hide the sender, avatar, and display name when you're in a direct message room. So you've got a timeline with just the messages. It's only 2 in the room. What else? Last thing, it's now possible to disable notifications for invites. And also, George is working on the rich text editor to add support for mention, both in the composer and in the timeline. And he finished a pull request today about it, so it's coming very soon. On my side, I've updated the rendering of SAS emojis because we were using the default font for emojis, so you don't have the same emoji when you use different clients, which is not quite okay. And I've seen that there is a diff on one of the emoji, so yeah, I will ping the web team to see what they are using. And the last thing, I've done some preparatory work to be able to share document or anything to Element X. So this is something which is possible on the system, the Android system. So when you want to share a photo or anything, Element X will appear in the list of applications able to receive this data. That's it for Android.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Let's move on to Element iOS and Element X iOS. Doug?
Hello. So on Element X, we released version 1.4.3 to the App Store today. And then we've been working on the room tip topic. You can now tap the links, which was quite a sticking point. So they're now tappable, so you can open up links. And we've added a setting to disable notifications for invites. When you send files and media, if you're scrolled up, you'll now get scrolled down to the bottom. And then we've just fixed a load of bugs around room creation, menus when you've overridden light or dark mode, and like the presentation when you open the app with screen lock enabled. So this week's going to be more bug fixes. Hopefully we want to get our CI working again for the UI and integration tests. And I think there might be quite a few fixes around the behavior of the composer when the rich text editor is disabled. And that's it for us.
Thank you very much. Looks like nothing on the Rust SDK for this week.
This is all wonderfully backwards. We've got loads of element updates and relatively few matrix updates in Matrix Sync, but hey, let's try to ignore that.
Yeah, I'll have a note about the Matrix Sync meta toward the end here. Always gets a little funky toward the end of the year. Let's move on to encryption with Valir.
Yep. So we've been mostly working on WebR. So one thing to note is that we are disabling key requesting on WebR. So we are finally getting rid of that. It's generating a lot of traffic. So if you notice things, please report issues. Other than that, we are working on finishing WebR, working on edge cases around backup. And that's it for the crypto team.
Excellent, thank you. Halfshot with Bridges.
Hello, not a huge amount for us, mostly winding up, particularly on the Libera chat front. So we're winding up the home server start point this week. So if you've got aliases as current point to Libera chats, you probably want to move them to a different home server, like Mixture.org or another third party. Otherwise, just chatting to the foundation how we can support our bridges, particularly things like the Slack bridge, and going forwards with that.
Thank you very much. Moving on to identity and authentication with Guan.
Hello. So last week I shouted about a change in the MSC 2965, which is about YDC sugar discovery. I shouted about it last week, and now the change happened in Synapse in a backward compatible way, so it won't like break clients altogether directly. It should land in not in 1.98, but the release after that, and also support for that in mass landed as well. The exciting thing I wanted to talk about this week is I implemented support for the OAuth2 device authorization grant in mass. So that's basically a way for you to sign into another device using a device where you're already logged in. It doesn't do any cross-signing verification yet or stuff like that. It's just the base protocol that is already well-defined in an RFC, and you have a video of it happening on my phone and in a test matrix client just down there if you want to look at it. And that's about it.
This is really cool, albeit slightly terrifying in terms of Files SDK being back from the dead, presumably just for test purposes.
Yeah, this is just because of the people working on this. It's a useful playground.
Okay, and it's used, and it ends up with an actual QR code scan login, basically.
Yes, but this doesn't do, as I said, it's not full cross-signing verification whatsoever. This is just the base OAuth2 thing that you usually use when you log in on your smart TV for your Google account or stuff like that, where you don't actually want to enter your Google password with your crappy TV remote. That's the same mechanism here.
Super cool.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Let's move on to advocacy with Dib.
Hello, good morning. The bulk of the news is coming from FOSDEM, in particular with the dev room. So we received twice as many proposals as we could accept for the FOSDEM dev room. So it's nice to see the dev room was quite popular. All the talks have been accepted and rejected, at least in theory. I'm still fighting with the tool to make sure that everybody is getting notified. And the schedule should be done by this evening. I have a few talks to merge to make sure that everybody has a chance to talk during the dev room. But hopefully by this evening it should be done and the tool should have surrendered. Other than that, coming up this week, evaluating options to make the Matrix.org home server more mission aligned and less expensive for the foundation. When I say more mission aligned, it doesn't mean that Matrix.org is going away anytime soon. It's just that we need to make sure that we are not taking too much space in the Matrix ecosystem at the expense of the foundation itself. Other than that, drafting marketing material to start fundraising campaigns to make sure the foundation is sustainable, and a Matrix Live with whoever volunteers.
Excellent.
I can volunteer if you want to volunteer. I suspect that we'll finally do the Synapse repository shuffle this week, so that might be an obvious thing to talk about.
Yeah, definitely.
Good.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you both. All right, wrapping things up here. So many meetings last week. Just fewer things happening. Getting deeper into some of our problems, some of the problem spaces last week. getting caught up on trust and safety compliance and bridges. But really spent most of the time working on a roadmap for the foundation going into next year and high-level financial projections, and coordinating all of the comms towards the end of the year. We've got a lot of things coming up that I'm looking forward to, from the holiday update to governing board and a new fundraising campaign. So that is a big part of my focus this week. Finalizing key details of the fundraising campaign and how we're addressing some of the finer details in the roadmap. We'll be looking forward to announcing those soon. Really trying to wrap up the year now that we've got, now that I've got myself well oriented, working on marketing materials so we can start the next year with a strong push to do that fundraising that the foundation definitely needs to do. And one of the things that I continue to be excited about and am hoping to do this week, well, generally preparing for the upcoming elections and hoping to publish a blog post about that this week because I really want people to be thinking about how they can get involved and starting to prepare for that. Just a few points of interest. We're on day 4 or 5 of Hanukkah here. So happy Hanukkah to those who celebrate. We've got a whole pile of holidays coming up here. On that note, next week, December 18th, very probably, actually definitely our last sync of the year, because the next one falls right on Christmas and the one after that falls on January 1st. So no Matrix syncs on those days, of course. Looking forward to seeing everybody next week and wrapping up for the year. And then lastly, the meta note about the Matrix sync itself. So pending just a couple more conversations, we're looking at some experimenting with the format a bit. So perhaps a change in frequency, definitely continuing written reports because that's valuable for the broader ecosystem and visibility across projects. But perhaps spending less time in terms of verbalizing our written reports in a round robin and digging deeper into what does somebody want to share with the broader group, doing a deeper dive on one subject, followed by a Q&A. But we will see about that, and we'll keep folks updated. Hopefully have a little more to say about that next week. Okay, wrapping up the year here, folks. Hope everybody has a wonderful rest of your Monday and an excellent week, and I'll see you next week. Thank you.
Thanks all.
See ya.